Now to a closer look at some of the top legal stories of 2022, from the trial involving movie star Johnny Depp that captivated the country a few months back to the overturning of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court, impacting millions of Americans' rights to choose. Joining us now is, of course, NBC News legal analyst Danny Cevallos. Danny, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's start with the Dobbs decision, Dobbs versus Jackson, of course, the Supreme Court case that overturned Roe v. Wade. There was a lot of protest nationwide following that decision, a lot of impact in certain states regarding the rolling back of abortion rights. Talk to us about the historical significance of the court's decision and the impact that this ruling has had and will continue to have for months and years to come.
For decades, since the cases of Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, Roe was essentially on the judicial chopping block. And people on both sides of the ideological spectrum observed that Roe v. Wade was built on a shaky legal premise. So it only was a matter of time once this mostly right-leaning court took the bench before it would be overturned. But as much as it was anticipated, it was still a blow to those who had relied on or believed in the right to choose, in the privacy right that Roe announced, that does not exist in the Constitution, but that people, they would argue, have relied upon for the decades since it was enacted. So now the question is, where do we go from here legislatively? Is this something that Congress can fix? They can. They always could have fixed it. But, of course, that requires a politicking answer that just hasn't been available in the years since Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, probably needs 60 votes in the Senate, which is not going to happen at least anytime soon. So, Danny, let's talk about one specific trial that gripped the nation this year, and that was the defamation case brought to the court by actor Johnny Depp against his ex-wife Amber Heard. This, of course, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. It ended with the jury ruling in Depp's favor. Just remind us briefly about what this case was all about and then how it played out in court.
Whereas Roe v. Wade affected the rights of millions of Americans, Depp v. Heard affected 0 Americans. And yet it was a morality play about questionable morals, but a morality play nonetheless, maybe about how men and women and celebrities are treated differently in the media and in social media. So it's hard to say that we've learned anything from Depp v. Heard. I think different people learn different things from it. But ultimately, it was required viewing. And again, required viewing for a case that really affected the rights of nobody other than the litigants themselves, the very famous, very wealthy litigants.
And a fun fact, I live in Fairfax County and was actually called for jury duty the week before that case was seated. So it would have been odd if I'd ended up in that jury, especially
because you'd have been struck.
Yes, probably, especially for the length of time that it took place. Well, all right, one legal story that will surely continue to play out in 2023 is the fight over student debt relief. The Supreme Court will hear 2 cases in February that challenge President Biden's relief plan. Under that plan, those eligible could get up to $20,000 forgiven. So what are the arguments that those are bringing against this lawsuit are making, and what's the president's defense here?
Many millions of folks who have taken out student loans and feel saddled with debt may cheer the idea of having student loan debt forgiven. But you have to look at the machine that created this solution. And basically, it's about, does the executive branch, specifically the agencies of the executive branch, have the power to interpret federal laws to achieve a result that maybe isn't in the law itself? So as much as students or former students may cheer the idea of reducing student loan debt, the concern here is if you invest the executive branch and its agencies, the agencies who are composed of unelected persons instead of Congress, of course, if you give them that power to, with the stroke of a pen, make decisions that affect so many people, then you live by that sword or the pen and you die by that pen when another administration gets in and an agency does something that maybe people don't like as much. So this case really isn't about whether it would be nice or not nice to eliminate student debt. It's really about whether or not these agencies, executive branch agencies, have the power to interpret law, federal law enacted by Congress, to an extent that just isn't in the language of the law.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.